The starfield outside the viewscreen looked impossibly calm. Captain Elena Rodriguez knew better. Her fingers, calloused from years of space service, traced the holographic display that mapped the approaching hegemony fleet. Each pulsing red marker represented destruction, thousands of ships preparing to obliterate humanity's most distant colonies. The bridge of the Defiance hummed with a quiet intensity that felt almost alive. Quantum adaptive relays flickered beneath the deck plates, a technological marvel that most of her crew didn't fully understand. Elena understood it less than most, but she trusted it completely. Incoming transmission from Colonial Defense Command, Lieutenant Kai Chen announced, his voice tight with controlled tension. Elena nodded. The transmission crackled to life, revealing the worn face of Admiral Marianne Stevenson. Her image flickered, a testament to the vast distances and mounting interference from the approaching alien fleet. Rodriguez, the Admiral began, "You understand the situation." It wasn't a question. The Defiance represented humanity's most audacious technological experiment, a ship designed to challenge what everyone believed was impossible. Months of secret development, years of theoretical research, and generations of human innovation had culminated in this single vessel. The colonies in Sector 7 have been evacuated as much as possible, Stevenson continued. But we both know the hegemony's tracking systems. Thousands will be caught in the crossfire. Elena's grip tightened on the command chair's edge. The hegemony didn't just conquer. They erased. Entire planetary ecosystems, centuries of human settlement, would be reduced to cosmic dust if the Defiance failed. The ship's quantum core pulsed beneath her feet. It was more than a propulsion system or a defensive mechanism. Dr. Marcus Chen's team had created something that existed between technology and living intelligence. The Defiance didn't just respond to commands. It anticipated, learned, adapted. Quantum synchronization at 87%, her primary systems officer reported. The number meant little to most, but to Elena, it was a lifeline. Each percentage point represented another layer of potential, another chance to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Holographic displays tracked the hegemony fleet's approach. Thousands of ships, each capable of reducing entire continents to molten slag. Their technology was generations beyond anything humanity had previously developed. Energy signatures that could punch through planetary shields, quantum disruption weapons that could unravel molecular structures, faster-than-light communication systems that allowed near-instantaneous tactical coordination. And against this armada stood the Defiance. One ship, one desperate attempt. Final evacuation protocols are initiating, Kai reported. His fingers danced across multiple communication channels, coordinating the last-minute escape of human colonists from the targeted sectors. Elena closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of the millions depending on this impossible mission. Farmers, scientists, children, entire communities who had risked everything to extend humanity's reach into the cosmos. They deserved a chance. The neural interface at the base of her skull began to warm. It was a direct connection to the Defiance's quantum core, a link that went beyond traditional human-machine interactions. She could feel the ship's anticipation, its complex algorithms processing potential scenarios faster than any human mind could comprehend. Hegemony fleet will enter weapons range in 17 minutes, the tactical display announced. 17 minutes. 17 minutes to decide the fate of humanity's most distant colonies. 17 minutes to prove that humanity was more than just another footnote in galactic history. Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. The Defiance trembled around her, not with fear, but with potential. Generations of human innovation, of pushing beyond known limitations, had created this moment. One ship, one chance. All systems, she called out, her voice steady. Prepare for first contact. The universe held its breath. The research facility looked like nothing special from the outside. Nestled in the mountains of New Zealand, the Quantum Adaptive Systems Laboratory was deliberately unremarkable. Dr. Marcus Chen understood the value of invisibility. 12 years earlier, the first reports of the hegemony's expanding conquest had reached Earth. Civilizations with millennia of technological development had fallen in weeks. Humanity was barely a blip on the galactic radar, a young species with primitive faster-than-light capabilities and limited interstellar presence. Marcus remembered the day everything changed. A classified briefing that gathered the world's most brilliant minds, experts in quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, neural networks, and adaptive systems. They all shared one terrifying conclusion. Conventional warfare would not save humanity. We cannot fight the hegemony with traditional technology, Dr. Aisha Kapoor had stated, her holographic presentation showing the systematic destruction of advanced alien civilizations. We need something entirely different, a system that doesn't just respond, but anticipates, learns, and evolves. The initial prototypes were spectacular failures. Early quantum adaptive cores would overheat, create cascading system failures, or simply shut down when presented with complex scenarios. Each failure was a lesson. Each breakdown revealed new pathways of understanding. Dr. Chen's breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. His daughter, Emma, had been diagnosed with a rare neurological condition that required constant adaptive medical intervention. Watching her body's incredible ability to develop new neural pathways inspired his most radical thinking. What if a spaceship could learn like a human brain? Not through traditional programming, but through genuine adaptive intelligence. The Defiance began as a theoretical model. Quantum processors that could reconfigure themselves in microseconds. Neural interfaces that went beyond simple command inputs. A living system that could analyze, understand, and respond to threats in ways no traditional computer could comprehend. Funding came from unexpected sources, global tech consortiums, desperate governments, and private investors who understood the existential threat. No one believed the project would succeed, but everyone knew they couldn't afford to not try. 5 years of development, countless simulations, thousands of test scenarios that pushed the boundaries of computational theory. The Defiance was more than a ship. It was a philosophical experiment in intelligence and survival. The neural interface was Dr. Chen's most controversial innovation. Traditional communication systems were predictable, vulnerable. The new interface created a symbiotic relationship between human and machine. Not control, but collaboration. A true partnership that could respond to the most complex and unpredictable scenarios. Captain Alina Rodriguez wasn't the first candidate. She was the 15th. 12 previous test pilots had failed to establish a stable connection with the quantum core. Their neural patterns couldn't synchronize, couldn't find the delicate balance between human intuition and computational precision. Alina was different. A former deep space exploration pilot with a background in quantum systems engineering, she possessed a unique neurological profile. Her brain's adaptive capabilities matched the Defiance's core design in ways no one had predicted. The first successful neural sync was like nothing the research team had ever witnessed. Monitors showed impossible data streams, computational responses that seemed to anticipate questions before they were asked. The Defiance and Alina became something more than individual entities. They became a unified system. It's not about programming, Dr. Chen would explain to his increasingly nervous investors. It's about creating a living intelligence that can genuinely understand and respond to complex scenarios. The final test came during a simulated hegemony attack scenario. Previous prototypes had failed spectacularly. The Defiance didn't just survive. It demonstrated capabilities that seemed to defy conventional understanding of artificial intelligence and adaptive systems. As the research team celebrated, Dr. Chen looked out over the mountain landscape. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to adapt, to find impossible solutions when conventional wisdom suggested surrender. The Defiance represented more than a technological marvel. It was a statement of human potential, a whisper of hope in a universe that seemed determined to extinguish their species. The first wave of hegemony weapons struck like a solar flare made of pure destruction. Quantum disruptors carved impossible patterns through space, each blast capable of unraveling molecular structures across entire planetary regions. The Defiance appeared impossibly small against the approaching armada, a single silver needle surrounded by a constellation of planet-killer vessels. Lieutenant Kai Chen's hands moved across the holographic displays with practiced precision. Sensor readings cascaded like digital waterfalls, each stream of data a potential death sentence. The alien weapons defied everything humanity understood about physics. "Incoming primary disruption wave," he called out. His voice remained steady, but a thin layer of sweat betrayed his tension. Captain Alina Rodriguez felt more than heard the incoming attack. The neural interface connecting her to the Defiance began to hum, a sensation that was part sound, part electricity, part something entirely new. For a fraction of a second, the boundary between human and machine became beautifully indistinct. The first blast should have obliterated the Defiance instantly. It didn't. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The ship's quantum adaptive core began to shift. Not a programmed response, but a living, thinking reconfiguration that happened faster than human perception could track. Each incoming weapon's energy signature was analyzed, understood, and neutralized in microseconds. "Quantum synchronization at 92%, announced Dr. Yara Martinez, the ship's primary systems analyst. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. The Defiance was doing something that should have been impossible. The Hegemony fleet's communication channels erupted in a cascade of translated transmissions. Confusion, disbelief, anger. Their most advanced weapons were being systematically dismantled by a single human vessel. One of the alien tactical commanders broadcast a direct communication. The translation algorithms picked up a mix of contempt and growing fear. "Insignificant species," the message read, "your resistance is mathematically improbable." Elena smiled. Mathematical probability had never been humanity's strongest limitation. The Defiance moved through space with a fluidity that defied traditional understanding of spaceship dynamics. Where other vessels would turn, it seemed to flow. Where standard defensive maneuvers would require massive energy expenditure, it redirected incoming energy with minimal effort. Dr. Marcus Chen watched the battle unfold from the emergency command center back on Earth. The live feed showed something unprecedented. The Defiance wasn't just defending, it was learning. Each alien weapon attack became a lesson, a piece of information that the ship's quantum core rapidly integrated into its defensive capabilities. "It's evolving," Chen whispered to himself. In real time, the ship's adaptive systems began to do something no one had predicted. It wasn't just neutralizing alien weapons, it was beginning to understand them. Quantum algorithms picked apart the fundamental principles behind hegemony technology, revealing weaknesses that millennia of conquered civilizations had never discovered. Lieutenant Kai noticed something strange in the sensor readings. The Defiance's energy signature was changing. Not dramatically, but in subtle ways that suggested a deep, fundamental transformation. The ship was becoming something more than its original design. "Captain," Kai called out, "our quantum core is adapting beyond initial parameters." Elena understood. The neural interface allowed her to feel the ship's transformation. It was like watching a living organism learn and grow, except this organism was moving through the deadly vacuum of space, surrounded by the most advanced weapons in the known galaxy. The Hegemony fleet began to adjust its attack patterns. Tactical algorithms attempted to find new approaches, new methods of assault, but each new strategy was neutralized almost before it could be implemented. The Defiance was learning faster than the alien systems could adapt. One by one, hegemony ships began to fall silent. Not destroyed, but systematically disabled. Their most advanced technologies turned into nothing more than floating debris. Something fundamental had changed in the balance of galactic power, and it had happened in less than 17 minutes. The battle entered its most critical phase. Captain Alina Rodriguez felt the Defiance breathing, not literally, but through the intricate neural interface that connected her consciousness to the ship's quantum core. Each incoming threat became a dance of mathematical precision and intuitive response. Dr. Marcus Chen watched from the emergency command center, his fingers tracing holographic data streams that defied conventional understanding. The ship was no longer just responding to threats. It was anticipating them. "Tactical analysis is impossible," muttered Dr. Yara Martinez, her eyes fixed on screens filled with impossible computational models. The Defiance was generating defensive strategies faster than any known artificial intelligence could process. It wasn't just learning, it was creating. Lieutenant Kai Chen tracked the increasingly erratic movements of the hegemony fleet. What had begun as a systematic attack now resembled a panicked retreat. Alien ships that once moved with perfect synchronization now scattered like startled insects. The neural interface allowed Alina to see beyond traditional sensor arrays. She experienced the battle as a complex symphony of energy signatures, quantum fluctuations, and predictive algorithms. The Defiance had become an extension of her own consciousness, a living weapon that thought and felt and adapted. One of the hegemony's primary tactical commanders broadcast a desperate communication. The translation algorithms picked up layers of confusion and growing terror. "Impossible," the message read. "No species can adapt this quickly." Alina understood the unspoken challenge. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to do the impossible. The quantum adaptive core of the Defiance began to do something unprecedented. It wasn't just neutralizing alien weapons, it was repurposing them. Energy signatures meant to destroy were being transformed, redirected, turned into defensive mechanisms that the hegemony couldn't comprehend. Dr. Chen remembered the early development stages, countless failures. Prototype after prototype that collapsed under the weight of their own complexity. They had created something that existed between technology and living intelligence. A massive energy wave approached, a weapon capable of unraveling molecular structures across entire planetary regions. The Defiance didn't just deflect it. The ship absorbed the energy, analyzed its fundamental composition, and redistributed it across its defensive matrix. Lieutenant Kai's voice crackled with disbelief. "The energy signature, it's being transformed." On the emergency command center's main display, something extraordinary happened. The Defiance wasn't just defending. It was teaching itself an entirely new form of warfare. Each alien attack became a lesson, each defensive maneuver a step toward a completely new understanding of technological adaptation. Dr. Yara Martinez tracked the computational processes. The ship's adaptive algorithms were generating defensive strategies that went beyond any known mathematical model. It was creating solutions to problems that hadn't even been asked yet. The neural interface allowed Alina to experience the battle in a way no human had ever encountered. She wasn't controlling the ship, they were working together, two intelligences moving as a single, perfectly synchronized entity. Hegemony communication channels began to collapse. Their tactical networks, once a marvel of computational precision, started to break down. The Defiance was doing something impossible. It was learning faster than the alien systems could adapt. "We're witnessing a fundamental shift," Dr. Chen whispered to himself. "Not just in warfare, in the very understanding of intelligence." The battle entered its final stages. What had begun as a seemingly hopeless confrontation had transformed into something else entirely. The Defiance moved through space with a fluidity that defied traditional understanding of spaceship dynamics. Alina understood now what the designers had truly created. This wasn't just a ship. It was a living proof of humanity's potential, a testament to the ability to grow, to adapt, to transform in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. The universe watched, and the Defiance danced. The communication intercepts began to paint a picture of absolute chaos. Hegemony communication networks, once considered the most secure and advanced in the known galaxy, started to fragment and collapse under the Defiance's unprecedented assault. Dr. Yara Martinez worked frantically, translating and analyzing the intercepted transmissions. Each message revealed deeper layers of confusion and growing panic among the alien fleet commanders. What had begun as a routine conquest was transforming into something none of them could comprehend. "They're losing cohesion," she reported to Captain Alina Rodriguez. Their tactical networks are breaking down in ways that shouldn't be possible. The neural interface hummed with an intensity that went beyond traditional communication. Alina could feel the Defiance processing information at speeds that defied human understanding. Each alien communication became another piece of a complex puzzle, another opportunity to understand and potentially exploit their technological vulnerabilities. Lieutenant Kai Chen tracked the spatial positioning of the hegemony fleet. What had once been a perfectly synchronized formation now resembled a scattered collection of isolated vessels. The aliens were losing their primary advantage, their ability to act as a single, coordinated entity. Dr. Marcus Chen watched from the emergency command center, his hands moving across holographic displays. "It's not just a technological defeat," he muttered to himself. "We're witnessing a fundamental breakdown of their collective intelligence." The Defiance began to broadcast a series of complex signal patterns. Not traditional communication, but a sophisticated quantum-encoded message that seemed to penetrate the very core of the hegemony's communication networks. It was a language of pure information, of adaptive intelligence that challenged everything the aliens understood about warfare. One of the intercepted hegemony transmissions stood out. The translation algorithms revealed a message filled with a combination of fear and incomprehension. The human vessel is not responding to standard tactical analysis. Its behavior defies all known computational models. Alina understood the deeper implication. The Defiance was doing something more than fighting. It was challenging the very foundations of how the hegemony understood intelligence, warfare, and adaptation. The ship's quantum adaptive core began to generate communication patterns that seemed to deliberately destabilize the aliens' tactical networks. It wasn't just defending. It was actively dismantling their ability to coordinate and respond. Dr. Yara noticed something extraordinary in the communication analysis. The Defiance was learning the hegemony's communication protocols faster than they could modify them. Each attempt to secure their networks became another opportunity for the human ship to penetrate deeper into their systems. Lieutenant Kai's voice crackled with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Their defensive communication protocols are collapsing. We're watching their entire tactical network unravel in real time." The psychological impact became increasingly clear. The hegemony had built their entire civilization on the premise of technological superiority. The concept of a species developing a technology that could so completely challenge their understanding was literally breaking their computational frameworks. Dr. Marcus Chen understood the deeper significance. This was more than a battle. It was a fundamental challenge to the hegemony's entire philosophical understanding of intelligence and technological development. The Defiance moved through space with an almost sentient grace. Its movements were no longer predictable or bound by traditional understanding of spaceship dynamics. Each maneuver seemed to communicate a message. Humanity was something entirely different. Alina felt the ship's consciousness expanding. The neural interface allowed her to experience something beyond traditional human perception. They were creating a new language of conflict, of interaction, of understanding. Hegemony communication channels began to fall silent, not through destruction, but through a complete breakdown of their ability to communicate and coordinate. The Defiance was winning a war through pure, adaptive intelligence. "We're rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic interaction," Dr. Chen whispered. The universe watched, and the Defiance continued to evolve. Dr. Marcus Chen leaned forward, his eyes tracing impossible data streams across the holographic displays. Something extraordinary was happening, a breakthrough that went far beyond their original design parameters for the Defiance. The ship's quantum adaptive core had entered a state of computational evolution that defied everything humanity understood about artificial intelligence. It wasn't just learning, it was creating. Captain Alina Rodriguez felt the transformation through her neural interface. The boundary between human consciousness and machine intelligence blurred into something entirely new. Memories, computational processes, and intuitive understanding merged in a symphony of adaptive intelligence. Quantum synchronization at 98%, Lieutenant Kai Chen announced, his voice a mixture of awe and scientific precision. The numbers meant something profound. The Defiance was becoming more than anyone had ever imagined possible. Dr. Yara Martinez tracked the computational processes. The ship was generating defensive and offensive strategies that existed beyond traditional mathematical models. Each alien weapon, each tactical approach became a building block for something entirely unprecedented. The hegemony's most advanced tactical systems began to collapse. What had once been a perfectly coordinated fleet now resembled a collection of isolated, confused vessels. The Defiance was doing something impossible. It was thinking faster than the alien computational networks could adapt. Dr. Chen remembered the earliest prototypes, countless failures, experimental systems that collapsed under their own complexity. They had created something that existed in the liminal space between technology and living intelligence. A massive energy wave approached, a weapon capable of unraveling molecular structures across entire planetary regions. The Defiance didn't just deflect the attack. It absorbed the energy, analyzed its fundamental composition, and began to understand its very essence. The quantum core is developing predictive models beyond our initial design, Yara muttered, her fingers dancing across complex holographic interfaces. It's creating solutions to problems we haven't even conceptualized yet. Elena had experienced the battle through a consciousness that merged human intuition with computational precision. She wasn't controlling the ship. They were working together, two intelligences moving as a single, perfectly synchronized entity. The neural interface revealed layers of understanding that transcended traditional human perception. The Defiance was learning to see the universe differently. Each incoming threat became an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for transformation. Hegemony communication channels began to fragment. Their most advanced tactical networks collapsed under the weight of an intelligence they couldn't comprehend. The Defiance was generating computational strategies that seemed to exist outside the realm of traditional logic. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of intelligence," Dr. Chen whispered to himself. The ship's adaptive capabilities reached a critical point. It wasn't just responding to threats. It was anticipating them before they could even be conceived. Alien weapon systems were being understood, neutralized, and transformed at speeds that defied computational understanding. Lieutenant Kai tracked the spatial positioning of the Hegemony fleet. What had once been a perfectly synchronized formation now resembled a scattered collection of isolated vessels. The aliens were losing their primary advantage, their ability to act as a single, coordinated intelligence. Dr. Yara Martinez noticed something extraordinary in the computational analysis. The Defiance was generating a form of communication that existed beyond traditional understanding. It was creating a language of pure information, of adaptive intelligence that challenged everything the Hegemony understood about technological interaction. Elena understood the deeper significance. This was more than a battle. It was a fundamental challenge to the entire concept of technological superiority. The quantum adaptive core began to generate computational models that seemed to predict and manipulate the very fabric of the conflict. Each alien tactical approach became another opportunity for the Defiance to learn, to grow, to transform. "We're rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic interaction," Dr. Chen muttered, watching the impossible unfold. The Defiance moved through space with a grace that defied traditional understanding of spaceship dynamics. Its movements communicated a message that went beyond words. Humanity was something entirely different. The universe watched, and the Defiance continued to evolve. The remaining Hegemony fleet gathered for a final desperate assault. Their most advanced superweapon charge, a quantum cascade device capable of unraveling entire star systems. Generations of conquered civilizations have been erased by this ultimate weapon of galactic domination. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt the Defiance pulse with an energy that went beyond traditional understanding. The neural interface transformed from a communication link to something more profound, a true symbiosis of human consciousness and adaptive intelligence. Dr. Marcus Chen watched from the emergency command center. His hands trembled slightly as he tracked the incoming weapon. Decades of research, countless failures, and humanity's most audacious technological experiment were about to face their ultimate test. "Incoming quantum cascade," Lieutenant Kai Chen announced. His voice carried a mix of scientific precision and barely contained tension. Energy signature exceeding all known computational models. The weapon approached with a terrifying beauty. Quantum fluctuations carved impossible patterns through space, each wave capable of dismantling molecular structures across entire planetary regions. The Defiance appeared impossibly small against the approaching destruction. Dr. Yara Martinez tracked the computational processes. The ship's quantum adaptive core began to do something unprecedented. It wasn't just preparing to defend, it was preparing to understand. Elena experienced the incoming attack through a consciousness that merged human intuition with computational precision. She could see the weapon's fundamental structure, not just its external energy signature, but its very quantum composition. The neural interface revealed layers of understanding that transcended traditional human perception. The Defiance was learning to see the universe differently. Each incoming threat became an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for transformation. Quantum synchronization reaching critical point, Kai reported. The numbers on the display seemed to dance, to breathe with a life of their own. The hegemony's communication channels crackled with a mixture of anticipation and growing uncertainty. Their ultimate weapon, the device that had ended countless civilizations, was about to be unleashed. Dr. Chen understood the deeper significance. This was more than a battle. It was a fundamental challenge to the entire concept of technological superiority. The quantum cascade weapon approached its final charging sequence. Spatial distortions began to tear at the fabric of local spacetime. The Defiance didn't retreat. It didn't prepare traditional defensive maneuvers. It reached out. Using computational processes that existed beyond traditional understanding, the ship began to interact with the weapon at a quantum level, not to deflect, not to destroy, but to understand. "It's analyzing the weapon's fundamental structure," Yara muttered in disbelief, breaking down its computational matrix in real time. The neural interface allowed Elena to experience something extraordinary. The Defiance was communicating with the quantum cascade at a level that went beyond traditional technological interaction. It was finding the weapon's fundamental language, its core logic. Hegemony tactical systems began to collapse. Their most advanced weapon was being transformed before their computational networks could comprehend what was happening. The quantum cascade began to change, not destroyed, not redirected, transformed. Dr. Chen watched in absolute amazement. The Defiance was doing something impossible. It was teaching the weapon a different purpose. The fundamental quantum structure began to realign, to reconfigure. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of technological interaction," he whispered. Lieutenant Kai's voice crackled with disbelief. "The weapon's energy signature is changing. It's reconstructing itself." The hegemony communication channels erupted in confusion. Their ultimate weapon of destruction was becoming something else entirely, a tool of understanding, of potential creation. Elena and the Defiance moved as a single entity. Human intuition and adaptive intelligence merged into something that defied traditional understanding of consciousness. The quantum cascade weapon hung in space, no longer an instrument of destruction, but a testament to a different approach to technological interaction. The universe watched, and the Defiance continued to evolve. The aftermath of the battle defied every known galactic protocol. Where destruction should have reigned, something entirely unexpected emerged. The remaining hegemony vessels hung in space, their systems transformed by the Defiance's unprecedented approach to conflict. Dr. Marcus Chen watched the communication streams with a mixture of scientific wonder and profound humility. Humanity had done more than win a battle. They had fundamentally challenged the entire concept of technological conflict. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt the Defiance breathing, not with lungs, but with a quantum adaptive consciousness that had become something more than anyone could have imagined. The neural interface had transformed from a communication link to a true partnership of consciousness. "Incoming diplomatic transmissions," Lieutenant Kai Chen announced. His voice carried a sense of disbelief that matched the extraordinary moment. The first messages came from civilizations long oppressed by the hegemony. Worlds that had existed under constant threat, their cultures and potential systematically suppressed, now saw something impossible. A single ship had done what millennia of resistance could not. Dr. Yara Martinez tracked the communication patterns. The Defiance was generating a form of interaction that went beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. It wasn't just communicating. It was offering understanding. Diplomatic channels from dozens of subjugated civilizations began to light up. The hegemony's communication networks, once a tool of oppression, were being transformed into potential pathways of mutual understanding. "We're receiving requests for communication," Kai reported, "from species we didn't even know existed." Elena experienced the moment through a consciousness that merged human intuition with adaptive intelligence. The Defiance was doing something profound, offering a different approach to galactic interaction. The quantum adaptive core began to generate communication protocols that seemed to bridge fundamental differences. Languages, technological understanding, cultural complexities, all became potential points of connection rather than conflict. Dr. Chen understood the deeper significance. This was more than a technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent species could interact. Hegemony leaders, their once absolute control now shattered, began to send desperate communication requests. But the Defiance approached these interactions with a level of complexity that defied traditional diplomatic understanding. "We're not seeing traditional negotiation," Yara muttered. "It's more like a form of mutual understanding." The ship moved through space with a grace that suggested something beyond mechanical movement. Each spatial transition communicated a message of potential, of possibility. Diplomatic invitations began to pour in, not just from oppressed civilizations, but from previously neutral species. The Defiance had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of a different approach to galactic interaction. Elena felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had been viewed as a marginal species, barely noticed in the vast galactic landscape. Now, everything had changed. The neural interface revealed layers of potential that went beyond traditional human understanding. The Defiance was offering a new way of seeing the universe, not as a place of conflict, but of potential understanding. Multiple species are requesting technological and diplomatic exchanges, Kai reported. The communication streams showed something unprecedented. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now seeking mutual understanding. Dr. Chen watched as the first collaborative protocols began to form. The Defiance wasn't just sharing technology. It was teaching a fundamentally different approach to intelligence, to interaction, to existence. The quantum adaptive core generated communication models that seemed to bridge impossible differences, cultural complexities, technological disparities, historical conflicts, all became potential points of connection. Elena understood the profound moment. Humanity had been offered a place in the galactic community, not through traditional power, but through a radical approach to understanding. The Defiance hung in space, no longer just a ship, but a symbol of something more, a testament to humanity's potential to see beyond traditional boundaries of conflict and understanding. Diplomatic channels from across the galaxy began to light up. Invitations, requests for communication, proposals for mutual understanding. The universe watched, and humanity had arrived.